define teams that are on the rise in 2024. Does that mean they had a horrible season last year? Is that a jump from an also-ran to a contender? Is that a jump from a contender to a champion? Caleb, what is the definition?
The definition is they are on the rise as a program to reach new heights that they haven't reached in a long time. And whether that be going from they've been a downtrodden 4-8 team and they're about to be a regular 8-4, 9-3, 10-2 team, or they're a middle of the pack team now on the road to becoming a championship contender. And it can't just be for this upcoming year. They're on the rise in the sense of they could do more beyond this year. That's why I left Colorado off the list, because I actually think Colorado will be better this year, but I think Colorado is going to fall off after Deion Sanders leaves.
All right, let me ask you this. I agree with that. So let's go now to Four Downs, brought to you by our friends at Work Trucks. We mentioned them, and Cooper Mays will set us up. Coop, what should people do?
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
All right. By the way, you can vote on the loudest that Neyland Stadium's ever been. We've got 2004 Florida, 1998 Florida, 2022 Alabama, which has the lead at 57% of the vote. Other as 9%, then 1998 Florida, 35%. None for 2004 Florida, guys. It was loud. That was great drama. So what down, Coop?
Coop here. First down.
The teams that are most likely to be on the rise and make a jump. You have at number 5 whom?
Georgia Tech. Now, guys, this is scary for Tennessee if you're a Tennessee fan, because I'm just going to tell you, we just talked about a 5-star offensive lineman, Josh Petty, on Monday on our Hooker's Corner recruiting video. He just committed to Georgia Tech. This is a really underrated story. Brent Key, their coach, stepped in mid-season in 2022 after they had fired their previous head coach, Jeff Collins, who was horrible. They had been horrible for a while. Brent Key went 4-4 that year. He then went 7-6 in 2023. Now he's got the 20th ranked recruiting class nationally. Dave, 4th best in the ACC. And that's, look, if Georgia Tech were to make a run ever and show that they're a legitimate threat, guys, they're in the state of Georgia. They're in Atlanta. There's a lot of talent they can pluck.
Here's why I completely disagree with you. Because I think if anybody has success at Georgia Tech, they'll go elsewhere because they've then built those recruiting ties in the Atlanta area. And for instance, if Josh Heupel went to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys in 5 years, if anybody's having success at Georgia Tech, I would call them. And I don't think Tennessee would be the only school that would be interested, because you're overcoming a lot to get kids to stay at Georgia Tech, because their facilities ain't great.
Maybe they're going to get serious. And for those who don't know, Georgia Tech, the stadium is named after Bobby Dodd, a legendary Tennessee player who built a dynasty there for a while.
Well, listen, you better be serious. I mean, you better be, or you're going to be the second level of team. And Georgia Tech, those kinds of programs, Vanderbilt, Wake, an NC State, perhaps. I mean, those are the type of programs that if a super conference hits, they could be left out. What down,
Cooper Mays here. Second down.
I want to see where Tennessee falls on this list, so please hit like and subscribe. All right, so teams on the rise. Who is number 2, Caleb? Or who's number 4? Excuse me.
So number 4 is a shocker again, Northwestern. Guys, David Braun took over at Northwestern after the total Pat Fitzgerald disaster and went 8-5. Northwestern was ahead of the curve in college football unionizing. They could be, Dave, with the new Big Ten, and this is the truth, that academic school that does very well, like what Stanford did back in the day with David Shaw before they fell apart. And there's a Tennessee tie. They have Mike Bahakian as their offensive coordinator. For those who don't remember, he was the offensive coordinator under Butch Jones, and Butch Jones was first hired at Tennessee, and Butch Jones kind of forced him out to make room for Mike DeBoer. And so there's a kind of a bit of a tie there, but this could be interesting. I'm going to tell you, Northwestern could be a little more interesting than you realize. They were in the Big Ten West last year because that was still a West. They were in there with Wisconsin and Nebraska. Both of them had first-year head coaches. Both of them you would think were better programs, and Northwestern did better than both of them.
Okay, Coop. What down next? I want to see where Tennessee falls.
Tennessee center Cooper Mays here. Third down.
All right, who's third on this list as we count them down, and then we'll get to the top two.
I hate to admit this, and he did make the worst call in history last year defensively in the Iron Bowl, but Auburn's on the rise, guys.
I agree.
Auburn's on the rise. You can say whatever you want about Hugh Freeze, and I will say a lot of negative things about that man. But homeboy knows offense very, very, very well. And he's now got a top 5 recruiting class at Auburn. And he doesn't really have to worry about cheating anymore. So
well, that and let's give him credit for a second. He cheated to get them, but the guys he cheated on, the Laramie Tunzels of the world, the Antonio Connors of the world, they were all players. He's a great talent evaluator too.
He's an incredible talent evaluator.
Yeah. I mean, I think that actually better than Jeremy Pruitt, who I think's a pretty good. So, I mean, let's not forget that the guys he cheated on, which risked his career.
You mean cheated to get, not cheated on, relationship-wise?
No. The guys he cheated to get, at least they turned out to be players, because if you're going to risk a lot, your evaluation better be spot on. All right, let's get to the top. Let's get to the top two. Where do they fall?
All SEC center Cooper Mays here. Fourth down.
Okay. I would have Tennessee number 1, regardless if that's the team we cover or not. Do you have Tennessee number 1? People can read the column at offthehooksports.com.
Yes. Yes, Tennessee's absolutely number 1. And this is crazy to a lot of people because they actually took a dip this past year. So they would have seemed more like they'd be on the list going into 2022, or maybe even after 2022. But I think, and I've told you guys this for a while, 2022 was a teaser for what Josh Heupel's trying to build long-term at Tennessee. And I always said, Dave, did I not say during that year that 2024 was the year? And
yes, you did.
2024 is here. I think this is the year where Tennessee reaches that next year. I've given you guys the perfect example. Early Clemson, 2011 to 2013, they were giving you a teaser with Taj Boyd, right? What they were going to be with Dabo.
Yes.
They took a step back in 2014 with Cole Stout, which was kind of a transition year. And then 2015 came and they officially had arrived with Deshaun Watson. And they remained a staple of the sport for the next 6 years. I think this is Tennessee's 2015 year with Clemson, where they show they are fully arrived and they are fully there as a program, and they ain't going anywhere. And by the way, people will say, well, that was only 6 years at Clemson. Please, you'll take 6 years of that in any sport. In 2 national championships in 6 years, you're going to take that any day of the week.
Nope, I agree. Okay, so your team's on the rise. Here's where I agree with you. And
well, you left out one, though, before Tennessee.
Well, Ole Miss. Why did you pick Tennessee over Ole Miss at number 2?
So yes, Ole Miss is number 2, and I really debated putting Ole Miss on there because I thought they had an 11-win season last year. And Ole Miss could very much be like Missouri, which went 11-2. They could also very much be like Colorado, who I left off this list. But I'm a little bit different with Ole Miss, and here's why. I think Ole Miss, if they have given the risk that Lane Kiffin took, and he took a lot, and he's loaded them up with talent, if he's able to finesse that into like maybe playing for the national title or getting into the top 4 this year, you could see that be a springboard for Ole Miss to be very relevant for years to come with Lane Kiffin, particularly when the only school I think Lane Kiffin would bolt Ole Miss for after this year is Florida. I mean, where else would he go? And I'm not sure. We don't know for sure if Florida would give him the call.
No, we don't know that for sure, but I think somebody will. So I have to disagree with you on Ole Miss. I don't think Lane Kiffin's going to be there long term. So yes, they might have a little bleep this year, but they had 11 wins last year. So they might not even match that and still have a decent season.
But Dave, where's he?
I want to bounce some of these other ones real quick. I'm going to agree with you on Auburn. I think they're trending up. Northwestern, I want to see more out of David Braun. Georgia Tech, I don't believe a coach is going to stay there long enough, but I will 100% agree with Auburn and Tennessee. Now, if Lane Kiffin, and I was told when Auburn made a run at Lane Kiffin that he really liked Oxford. I don't believe that. But if he really likes Oxford, and you could tell me that Lane Kiffin's going to be there for the next 5-10 years, then I would have Ole Miss on the list. But otherwise, I just don't know that, so I can't roll with you that far.
If Florida doesn't make the call to Lane Kiffin, say they go for Deion Sanders over Lane Kiffin, which, by the way, is possible, where would Lane Kiffin leave Oxford for that would be open next year? I mean, maybe Miami. Maybe Mario Cristobal would get fired.
I think he wants to be in the SEC for sure. I think you would take a lesser SEC job than what you and I would consider a better non-SEC job.
Well, I think Florida's the only better job than Ole Miss that's going to open up this year, and that's my thing. And Ole Miss is that second tier, but Dave, it's
so much could change. What if Kalen DeBoer said, "This is too much pressure. I'm out of here"?
Then yes, Lane Kiffin's going to Alabama. But I think I do believe he preferred Ole Miss to Auburn, because while Auburn is a better job, it's only slightly, and the pressure's a little less at Ole Miss. And I'm just going to say it. I'm going to say it. He's Lane Kiffin, and the girls in their 20s are a little more appealing at Oxford than they are in Auburn.
I will tell you the job he really, really wants is LSU. That's the job that he would really, really like to have. All right, so our poll question's on our YouTube page. What's the loudest you've ever seen Neyland Stadium? 1998, Florida, 35% of the vote. 2022, Alabama getting 54% of the vote.